Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about people pleasing as the ego playing dress up. It's a very funny topic because it's a personal topic for me as someone who has people pleased in the past. Yeah, so people pleasing is the ego playing dress up. And I want to use this analogy. I want to use this analogy to start my video. It's not going to be too coherent because I did not, you know, I wrote some things down, but I didn't really memorize them or anything. So I'm just going to be recalling from mind my thoughts on the matter. Okay, so the mental imagery we're gonna use is I just imagine that you have a bodyguard, right? And this bodyguard, you of course a bodyguard is someone that's supposed to protect you, they're supposed to be there for you, right? And this bodyguard, you are out in public and the bodyguard abandons you, and runs to wherever. And from the bodyguard's point of view, right, they are doing the right thing because when they abandon you on their quest to go and check out, things that might put you in danger, right? They're doing it from a point of they are doing it from a place of care for you. So imagine you have a bodyguard and you're out in public. The bodyguard runs away from you and approaches like people afar off, and the bodyguard is asking them, "Are you going to hurt my principal? Are you going to hurt the person I'm taking care of? What are your plans? Do you want to hurt them? Because they are just such a great person. You shouldn't hurt them. You shouldn't, right?" And the people are wondering, like, what is wrong with this one, right? That's what they're going to be thinking, or they're going to be thinking, does this person have something that I could exploit? Either they're going to be thinking, what is wrong with this bodyguard, or they're going to be thinking, wow, is there something to exploit here for a bodyguard to travel this far from their principal or who they're supposed to protect and come to meet me, this stranger, and or this person, and they're asking me, oh, are you going to hurt the person I'm protecting? That is what people pleasing does. That is what people pleasing does. Your ego is supposed to protect you. The ego is not all bad. It's not even bad. It's neutral for the most part. It's supposed to protect you. It does so by scoping out, possible red flags in other people, possible red flags in the environment. So it is your ego that tells you, oh, okay, in this company, I'm being abused, I'm being maltreated, I don't deserve this, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna walk towards leaving, I'm gonna quit. It's your ego that tells you, this person I'm in a relationship with, or these people that I am in community with or in communion with are not worthy of me. It is ego that does that. What does people pleasing do? People pleasing is also the ego, but it is a poorly equipped ego. It's a poorly equipped ego that runs about trying to protect you but abandoning you in the process. It's running around asking people, do you want to hurt my principal? You shouldn't hurt them because they are such a great person. What do you want from me? What do you want from us to make sure you do not hurt us? What do you want? What do we give you to make you not hurt us? That is what people pleasing does. It's such a funny analogy, and I don't know if everybody's going to get it, but in my mind, it's so clear and it's so funny because that is what people pleasing does. People pleasing is self-abandonment for the purpose of protection, because we are wired for community. We have this ancient wiring where in the past being ostracized, being ordered, being cast out of the community was dangerous. Imagine, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago in your community where it's a very small community and you have hunters, you have healers, you have people who go to gather berries or whatever, gather fruits, whatever, gather food. And maybe you're in the community, you're not really doing much. And so you have to rely on all these people, and you have to rely on being nice. They have to like you enough for you to survive in that scenario. You have to be loved, you have to be liked, or at least tolerated. If you pose a threat, if you're a possible witch, you will. If you're someone that poses a threat to the community, if you're someone that is not well liked and you are not contributing anything, you can see how that will be dangerous. So it is our ancient wiring. We want to be liked, and we need to be liked in order to survive in the community. right? But when it goes to the extreme, where you start to self-abandon consistently in order to be safe within a so-called community, then you have to ask what is the purpose of this? Because the purpose altogether, the purpose ultimately is to be safe. And when you are self-abandoning, when you are, excuse me, when you are self-abandoning, when you are when your ego is self-abandoning, when your ego is playing dress up, you know, and people pleasing and running away and abandoning you and trying to scope out, you know, who to please in order to keep you safe, then something is wrong somewhere. And we've all been there. I've been there. Excuse me. Excuse me. I've been there. A lot of us have been there, especially if you're someone who maybe you have reasons to fear being isolated. You have reasons, right? You have reasons to fear being abandoned, so you go out of your way to ensure that you are not, and ultimately self-abandon. But the truth is that we do not live in those kind of communities anymore. For the most part, we do not need to be on friendly terms with the hunter. I'm not saying that we should go out of our way to be problematic. I'm not saying that we should go out of our way to be troublesome. I love community. Who doesn't? I love being loved. Who doesn't, right? But when it comes to a place of self-abandonment, consistent self-abandonment, I'm not saying we should not do things for others, we should not inconvenience ourselves for others, because ultimately that is what makes human experiences so good. We need the friction to create meaningful things. We need the friction to create sparks that could warm us, right? I don't know if my analogies make sense, but we need the friction in order to create sparks that warm us collectively, right? We would have to go out of our way for people sometimes, but on a consistent basis, to the point of self-abandoning, to the point where someone else is telling you to do something that you know you do not want to do, that you know will not bring you self-actualization, right? And you consistently go that path, then what is the purpose? Because you're going down that path because you think it's going to keep you safe. You're going down that path because it is a way to be safe within what you perceive as a community. But ultimately, will you be safe by consistent self-abandonment? I don't think so. So we do not need to be, in quotes, pleasing to the farmer, to the hunter, to the gatherers, or the, I don't know, whatever, the healers. We do not need to, be liked, right? In a way, we do not need to be liked to even have things, have things in this current modern world. There are people who live isolated lives. I'm not saying that's the best. I do not like that per se, but I do not mind myself. I could go a long way without human connection and not really feel it for a while, right? So, but I'm not saying that we should not. We should. I am someone who also does their best within their ability to build community, but at the same time, I just want us to realize that this is people pleasing is an ancient code running in a modern society. We're not living in a society where, oh, if your neighbor hates you because they couldn't use you, they couldn't manipulate you, right? They couldn't lead you down a path that's not great for you. It doesn't mean you will starve. You can go to a market and buy food for yourself, right? You could order food these days. You could order food online. If you have the money, you could do that. So the ancient wiring of, oh, I need to be safe, and so I must be liked, and I must do all these things, this to be liked, otherwise I will be cast out. It doesn't really work in modern world. It doesn't really work in the modern society. So what is the point? Because if we do all the people pleasing to consistently, how many of us that have been people pleasers have, I just want us to think about it, right? If you've been a people pleaser, how many times have people been pleased? How many times have your people pleasing resulted in people? Because the ultimately the purpose of people pleasing is to have people because it is the ego. It is the ego playing dress up, right? Because if you really dig down, deep down, if you really dissect the purpose of this self-abandonment consistently, so that people can say, oh my god, what a kind person, what an amazing soul, right? How many times do people do that? If you're someone who consistently self-abandons, you're someone who consistently lets other people steer your life to paths that might not be suitable for you, paths that might not result in self-actualization, paths that might not be fulfilling for your life's calling. If you let other people steer the ship of your life, how many times have you gotten the result you wanted? People say, oh my god, what a kind person, what an amazing person, I want to do things for them. It doesn't happen most of the times, right? Either people avoid you because they're like, what's wrong with this one? Why would they abandon themselves in such a way? If it's someone that is so self-abandoning, people who do not self-abandon will want to avoid you because it's strange, right? They look at you as some sort of strange creature. Either they abandon you, either the self-abandonment results in further abandonment, because people are like, what is wrong with this person? How come they keep abandoning themselves? They avoid you, or they exploit you. They say, oh, right, you want to abandon? Okay, yeah, I'm going to help you. Right? So that is. I'm not saying there are not a few scenarios where people are like, oh my god, this person is so self-abandoned, let me protect them. But but it is not the case for the most part. For the most part, you get people abandoning you, like, what is wrong with this person, and avoiding you because it's strange. Or you get people who want to exploit you. That is what self-abandonment, that is what people pleasing results to, for the most part. That is what people pleasing results in, for the most part. People pleasing will leave you drained. Another thing people pleasing will do is leave you drained, because many times you think, oh, when I people please, when I abandon myself consistently, people will think I'm a nice person. And that is also where people pleasing also is a form of control. You're a control freak. Many of us who have that tendency, or who have had that tendency, are control freaks. And it does not always mean, I know control freak is always seen in a bad light, but it is not always a bad thing. It is from a place of feeling out of control, from a place of feeling like you had no control over your life at all at some point. I think so. I'm not a psychologist, I'm just theorizing, right? So it comes from that place of feeling like, you must have felt so helpless at some point, like you did not have any control over any aspect of your life. And so this is a form of control, when you're going out of your way to abandon yourself so that you can influence how other people perceive you. It's a form of it's a form of control. It's a form of obsessive control. You want to control how you're being perceived, to a very large extent. You want to manage your public image so meticulously. You might as well be like a celebrity, or something, right? You might as well be one of these very, very influential people that do not want any pictures of them, looking even mid out there, looking average out there, right? So that is what you're doing subconsciously, because you want to go out of your way to ensure people see you a certain way, and it doesn't always. At the end of the day, you realize that you really don't have that much control, right? You're gonna do what I would advise from my own little experience is that you're gonna do your best not to abuse people. You're gonna do your best not to go out of your way to abandon people when they really need you. That is how to be a good human. Do not abuse people. When you can lend a helping hand, do so. But at the same time, do not abandon yourself consistently. You know more than anybody else what will result in a very rewarding life. You do know that. You know that. And when people are taking you away from that path consistently, then you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this? Right? What is the purpose of me abandoning myself so that people can see me as great, when at the end of the day, I do not see me as great? Because ultimately, there's this tug, this pull between wanting to please people and wanting to really live in your true calling, right? So you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of abandoning yourself, only to inwardly be disappointed by who you become by so doing, right? So I just want us to think about that. I think I have a lot of a lot of other points that I have forgotten at this point, but ultimately people pleasing is the ego that wants to protect us but going about it the wrong way. Ultimately people pleasing is the ego being a bodyguard that abandons its principle to go and scope out, go and scope out like dangers afar off. Whereas you'd have been doing your job better by being at the person's side, right? By being at the person's side. For people whose ego works the way it should work, they see a harmful situation because the ego is all about protection of the self of the self. They see the person in a harmful situation and are like, no, 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 you cannot stay here, right? Or they see someone else trying to like impose a bad, a horrible self-image on the person, and they're like, no, you are seeing me as this kind of person, and I do not see me as that kind of person. Right, when people want to hate you, I don't know where I think I saw it online and I've forgotten the creator that said this, but when people want to abuse you, they want to also mess with your sense of self so that they can say, oh, they want you to view yourself in a horrible way so that it can justify their treatment of you. I don't know who I saw this from, but it's such a good point, right? So but if you have a healthy ego, you're gonna say, no, 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 that's not how I see myself. I'm a good person. I do not need to be self-sacrificing to be a good person. I don't need to be self-abandoning to be a good person, but I am a good person, right? You do not need to sacrifice yourself to be a good person. Like, ultimately, like, give up on yourself because you are also worthy of love. I remember when I was graduating pharmacy school, I've forgotten who said this, but it was so good that our service is to humanity, but we must not forget that we are part of humanity. So what does this mean? You do not excessively abandon yourself, because at the point where you are, let's say you are in a field where you are supposed to take care of people, if you are yourself very exhausted and tired, what kind of help can you give to anyone, right? So it is by caring for ourselves to an extent that we are able to even care for others. It is by serving ourselves that we can serve others in a way. Because if I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I'm really in a bad shitty mood and I've not eaten for days, like, what help can I give to someone who needs me? I don't know. So that is something to think about, I think, for all of us, that people pleasing is just the ego. So you just need to redirect your ego, right? Instead of going out of your way to abandon, you can say, just stay by my side and take care of me. Do not run around trying to control other people's perception of me. Let's stay here, stay by my side. When the danger comes, you can react as you should react, right? Not running around abandoning me, like looking for a potential, villain, whatever. I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know if this makes sense, but thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.